And we're back doing these late at night. I'm not as confused. My throat is still sore though. So we're back. This time we're gonna do. Oh wow, that's a lot of topics I have right there. Um, Main characters in stories. Um, because it just felt like a good idea. Because what's more important in your story than, well, the main guy themselves, yeah? So, what am I going to be talking about when I say main character? Like is going to be tradition now at this point. I fully think they will be in the description, the little talking points that I'll have. Where's my water? Where is my water? Huh? Oh no. How can I ramble and rant without my water? Oh, it's over there. I see it now. Dark room. You know how it goes. Anyway, the stuff should. Oh wait, this is a not open one. Right? Oh no, this is the open one. Uh, like I said, they should be in the description, because that's just where I'm putting these now. Take a sip. So, um, also keep in mind, okay, first of all, stretch if you need to, right? If you've been sitting on the computer for a while, get up, move around a little bit, let the blood flow. Alongside, don't forget to stretch. No, that wasn't what I was going to say. Don't forget to. No, I keep fucking it up. Everything I say is based off of a few things. First of all, I read predominantly fantasy. Second of all, I refuse to buy things. So it's just there I can find online or whatever I just happen to already own. I also don't leave my house, so I don't go to libraries. As much as I'd like to, actually. Anyway. Anyway. What was I doing? Right, this thing. I distracted myself. Apologies. Your main character. The bottle fell. Your main character is your most important part of your story. Next to the plot, because that's what your main character will be interacting with. Uh, so what is important to your main character? Well, obviously how they tie into the plot. Uh, did I write that down? Nope, I somehow didn't. Add that at the bottom there. Relevancy. Because sure, your main character can just be an everyman with, the everyman archetype or or kind of character where they. Oh, I yawned. I guess I'm tired. Where they have nothing special with themselves and are just your average stock regular guy. Ugh. But where's the fun in reading something like that? I already mentioned how I don't really mind the chosen one plot point, but an important thing in the story is what differentiates your main character. Even if for most of their life they were very normal, what is important about them enough that they are the driving force, potentially, or an important part of the plot going forward? Uh, Take Harry Potter, for example, because we all know that one, right? He, for the 11 years of his life, regular kid, then boom, finds out he is magical Jesus, uh, like socially, and has magical powers and can be involved in this magical world as the object of obsession for the, you know, magical Hitler practically. You know? Throat fucking sore. Good lord. And this, that idea carries on with a bunch of other sorts of things, right? Every main character should be interesting, story or otherwise, right? or like story or tabletop game. Like in tabletop games, your characters usually are not normal guys. Looking at this current campaign I'm playing with, I think my character might just be a normal guy, but also that's kind of his bit because one of I cannot stop teasing her about it. She named her character, and I have to play with this motherfucker and say with a straight face her character's name, Scarlet Veil, Vengeance Paladin. Dude, I couldn't stop laughing the first time she said that shit to me. And the other guy's is like another guy's name is Zenith, right? Zenith naturally. And then third guy Korusu, which is demon in Japanese. It is a Japanese inspired setting because my friends are weebs. Korusu, which is demon in Japanese, and I'm just over here fucking regular guy. The only interesting part about me is that I am Dragonborn and Druid. But given that I am in a merry band of actual fucking psychopaths, practically, actually Zenith's cool. We got a good dynamic going on with our characters already. Anyway, but like, right? The only time being normal a character should, in my opinion, right? Because that's more fun this way. The only in tabletop role-playing games, the only time a character should be normal is if they are the only normal person and by virtue a fucking freak. Because the straight man archetype is just so endlessly funny to me. Not that my character's any more normal as a result of it. Nothing made me do this, but when I used warding wind to get rid of getting shot by three crossbowmen, any like all the melee that was happening around us, I just kept describing the blood getting picked up by the wind and being thrown everywhere. And my character knew that and just refused to let it go. So I mean, it's not like my character's any less of a freak, but he also made. Nah, I'm just this is a real quick D&D story time, I guess, and then I'll move off of this topic. Through a series of like events in the intro scene, the DM just gifted me coffee beans as like a joke of like, oh, you'll need these. Probably expecting me, A, because I like having my characters be chefs or cooking, which I'll get into with the hobbies section. And I don't think he expected me to use the coffee beans by in the onsen we're staying in, looking around, grabbing. I asked him what is the nearest container object in this room. He said vase. I immediately said perfect. I take the vase. I carefully remove all the flowers and dirt. Go to the back. Go to the hot tubs. And make coffee with the vase in the hot tub. Framing it like a watch as I make coffee with these grounds and only things I can find in this establishment. Uh, which was the most fucking strange thing I think I have ever had the joys of role playing because the like what one guy woke up late, the other one was off in her own corner doing something. Also, the last guy's name is Raven. That's his first fucking name. Raven. I forget his last. Like they're all edgy bastards, and here I am making coffee in the bath, and it. He's the rogue, so he's literally nowhere to be seen. The paladin, she's like doing her own thing. I forget what it was. The monk is having night terrors that are foreshadowing awful things to come in the plot, and Zenith the fighter is like doing practice drills in the early morning, and I, the brass dragonborn, steal a vase, take loose coffee grounds out of my bag, go into the fucking hot springs, fill up the vase, drop coffee grounds in, and just wait. And soon enough, the coffee summons the horde, and they just see me there in the hot tub with a vase and smell coffee. And it was the best scene I have ever had the luxury of narrating in a D&D game. But and I'm ostensibly the normal guy. So the point I'm trying to drill home here is that I think main characters are interesting when there's just something either wrong with them or different about them. Because those are the fun parts. If your character's a massive coward, that's an interesting thing in, say, I don't know, military fantasy or something like that. Like if they're part of the king's army, like holding the line against an enemy empire, and they're just ugh, nausea. They're just a massive fucking coward. That is an interesting, how do you say, like line? Not line, an interesting sort of like trait to play off of. If your character is a tactician or to the point where it's probably like socially debilitating autism levels, have them be completely unable to function in normal social encounters. This should be very easy for all of you, as this is something that relates to every single one of you. I refuse to believe anybody that listens to these does not have some form of neurodivergency. You're autistic, accept it. I know I am. Look at the shit I do. Just ranted for 3 hours about making coffee in the bath in a D&D game. Like, I'm autistic as shit. I also have an eating disorder, but that is a separate thing. Probably. Uh, it's not the only time I plan to bring up my eating disorder in this video for main characters. What what happens next will shock you. Anyway, uh, but if your main character has like a unique trait or is different than the rest of the cast, it A, makes them stand out more, B, gives you more room to work with when you're having them interact with the plot, and C, is just great fun, I personally think. Because it's easier to have them be relevant to the plot. By being a freak, you're more relevant in the story. I fully, genuinely believe. Obviously, you can write it another way, so it's not like that, but again, where's the fun in that? What is some of the typical archetypes you'll see for main characters? You'll get, a main character like an anti-hero, like the Punisher, or or Venom, or some shit like that, yeah. The typical doesn't play by the rules, loose cannon, does what they need to do to get the job done, and is brooding over a past lover, or is seeking out the man that scorned them, or something like that. You have the chosen one, of course, which is whatever you need for the prophecy to fulfill itself. You have an aspirant, someone who is like lofty dreams that they will do anything to accomplish, right? Things like that. You know the general like sorts of like a gearhead main character, right? Like this is usually in steampunk. They're like a gearhead or an engineer, and they'll like do all they can to get their hands on schematics and like be in a workshop, get their hands dirty, shit like that. Anything, any anime trope character, of which there are indeed many, but you get what am I saying? You get what I'm trying to like emphasize here. I hope. And then, and if you don't, you can probably find them on like Trope TV or I don't know, Wikipedia or something. Don't go on WikiFeet though, that place sucks. If you have a foot fetish, you're weird. Anyway, like understand the archetypes and then either embrace them or break away from them. However, be warned of the slippery slope with subversion. I've mentioned before, subverting the trope is no longer subversion because now it is the expectation. So the real subversion is just playing the trope straight, for better or for worse. Some tropes, yeah, you can. I adjusted my headset. I don't know how bad that is, or if it is bad at all. I didn't test this tonight. Fucking A, whatever. Um, what was this in? Right. Uh, like some tropes, sure, subverting them is still nice. Other times, you get like, oh, I remade my elves to be. I'm gonna quote a meme directly that I will open up my phone to find. Don't worry, I know where to find it very quick, like. POV, you just told me that your elves that are actually short-lived, bad at magic, small in stature, live in the ground, and are bug people. And it's a soy jack giving you a certificate of trope subversion with wearing a badge that says trope subverter award. It's, you know, now I'm sure that all of that was incomprehensible. What I'm trying to say is not everything needs to be bent to your whims, right? You don't need every single possible thing to be unique. Nothing in creation is wholly unique. Everything is iteration. It's fine to just do things. I mentioned before, I still like the Tolkien fantasy setting. I still, despite how much we must maintain the agenda, I still appreciate elves for what they are, of the graceful, magic users that have a timeless perspective on the world, and should be buff as fuck, by the way. Also, by the way, their ears were described as leaf-like, not exactly pointed, but if that's what it is now, that's what it is now. Ugh, where's my water? Why is it so bad tonight? So, when you're making your main character, keep in mind the different archetypes and what to take and what to drop by. You don't need to fit in an archetype if it's bad for your story, or if you have parts of an archetype you think are good for your story but you don't like the other ones, shave them off. Who gives a damn? You're the author. Of course, who gives a damn would be the reader, or your players. Keep in mind that they are an important part of the relationship you have as a writer, but still do what you want. Anyway, I don't really know what else to say for like the archetypes whole thing, but you get what I'm saying. There's probably like more for like building your main character, but I've never been one for focusing on the minutia until I'm what, 5 chapters in. Don't take anything I say as like a word of law or even a fucking rule of thumb. I'm a stupid motherfucker, believe me. Yep, believe me. Anyway, what's that thing people do? It's like a character Bible. It's like a name, write down 20 things your readers will never know about your main character, like their birthday or their favorite dessert and their favorite color and their favorite season and stuff like that. And like the idea is you fill out like a personality sheet for your main character or characters so you can keep track of it as an external resource to help you remember how to write them in the future. I have never done that. However, I will not discredit it. I understand what it's there for and I think what it's encouraging is actually very nice. Keep in mind a bunch of different things because everything factors into making your main character the main character that they are. So, hobbies. My go-to hobby for a character is just making them a chef. In D&D, if I'm making a character, they'll probably end up having some sort of cooking ability. That's why the DM gave me coffee grounds because they kind of know me as the guy who, oh, when I don't know what to make a character interesting, I just make them a chef. In the first campaign we played together, I was the de facto cook in the campaign because it's another plot point. Most importantly, by the way, please watch my food video. It is my best one. I swear it is. Um, the reason, and keep this in mind, DMs and players alike, the reason I play a lot of cooks or chefs in D&D is because having a scene where I sit down and cook it, and then a scene where we sit down and eat it in roleplay, is a great pace breaker, great for exposition between each other, and great for just character interactions and moments with one another. It's one of the best natural ways to implement something like that, yeah? Uh, Also, it's just fun to. It feels good as the DM to have someone care. Or at least it does for me. It feels good as the DM to have someone care about the world I'm making, even if it is for just asking, like, what food is there? If I go to the shops, what food do they have on offer? How is it different from other places? Things like that. Which is another reason why I do it, to like have DMs feel like, yes, I am paying attention to your world. Observe, right? Uh, yeah. Anyway, um, but no, in I've found it's a great way to allow your story to breathe naturally. Um, and also, if you'd like, as the DM, you can give buffs. Though keep in mind there is the chef feat. You can maybe just encourage your characters to get that one. Uh, but hobbies go beyond just cooking and in eating said food. There are the different arts. Now, if you want to get meta, you can have your main character be a writer as like a hobby. You'd probably figure out how to write that pretty well, considering what you do. I'm coming at this from the angle of you're making a main character from a story more than you are for a tabletop, but even still, probably works too. No. Um, You have them be devoted themselves to like one of the arts, like photography or art or painting or music, or even like a martial art or just working out and shit. You could have them be interested in reading, have them be interested in history, like a cursory, like a look over at certain empires, or have them just be involved in politics. Or say, I had one on the tip of my tongue and then immediately forgot. Have them be a thief as a hobby. Like as a hobby, they just go down to the market square and just pickpocket people. That's funny. Ah, damn it, it's gonna piss me off until I remember it. Give me like 2 minutes. Or a sport. Or motherfucker. I don't know, entomology, D&D shit. Give your main characters something to do to make them fleshed out, make them feel like a person, right? Feel more like a person. On top of, again, it's a great way to implement a natural pace breaker that feels like a callback to a pre-established character trait or want or need they have, right? Ugh, where is my water? My nose, fucking A. What the hell? But these are also things that can be brought up in the world in like a beneficial way. How could they understand where this angle is coming from that they're getting shot at with this crossbow? Oh, they practice their landscaping or some shit, you can force it or some shit like that. They practice landscaping painting so they understand how to get a wide perspective with just a few cursory glances up from their canvas. So in a few seconds they can deduce the rough angle of where this crossbow bolt came from, right? Or don't eat that. How did you know it was? Don't eat that, right? They like slap the food out of their hand, and it's later revealed that it was poisoned. Oh, how'd you know it was poisoned? Oh, well, I'm a big fan of that dish in particular. So when I saw that they saw in the bag how they cooked it differently, I thought to myself, why would they cook it on that sort of heat? Wouldn't it ruin, I don't know, the cream of it or something? And I figured that they probably slipped something into it they didn't want to burn out, and I thought it would be poison. At best, it's just um, oh, at best, I saved your life, and at worst, I just made an ass of myself, or something like that, right? Or because of their interest in history, they are seeing repeating symbols throughout the world and are discovering a cult, and that could be like getting your main character into the scene, and then it could be them exploring ancient ruin from ancient ruin, confirming their theory before gathering allies at the end of the first of this trilogy, and then the second one continues on from that point, right? The first one is like all traveling from within the kingdom, meeting with dignitaries who it is later revealed that they have some sort of emblem or badge or artifact in their home that is propping up around these ancient cults, shit like that. All through their love of history and finding a pattern. So even adding hobbies is can and should be more than just I'm adding this so they feel like a person, and instead is I'm adding this so I can work with this later. You get it? There's a D&D story I'm just remembering right now where it's like a DM let a character because they have proficiency with a musical instrument or they're learning a musical instrument or something. Um, Memorize and work with the pattern of this golem or automaton, right? They use the beat. Um, they like interpret their pattern as a beat to memorize it and like do a performance role in order to assist their party members in understanding when it will attack next as a pattern, right? Because of their musical affinity. You see? There's a lot more to use their hobby for than just simply, oh, they have a hobby, because otherwise the readers would think, ah, it's weird. But take another sip of water. Yeah, there we are. Yep, that's better. Anyway, I will actually start check marking these off. X. Nope, didn't do that one. Whoops. This one. And did I really just talk about these? Nope, there it is. Just finished Hobbies. But of course, moving on to when they should just focus on the main task. Sometimes it's not time to indulge in your pottery. Sometimes it's not time to set up an entire canvas and oil paint set and start to draw a beautiful, serene picture of that lake. Sometimes your characters should literally just focus on the fucking story. This is most prudent when there is a time limit. So, and you can even bring it up like I'd much rather be delving into other facets of history, but instead I must find out about this cult because I believe the longer I let this fester, the more influence they'll have on the local politics, which it'll be harder to expel them later. So I must focus all of my attention on finding these specific things through this stack of tomes. I need you to defend me along the way because I'm fucking pretty sure that I'm gonna get shot for doing this. Shit like that, right? Another sip of water. There we are. Anyway, um, you bring it up as a point in universe, bring it up as just like an offhanded comment, or don't make mention of it. Sometimes it's just fine to focus on the main story, especially if you're in a lull. Lull. Now I have to look this fucking word up. Lull. Lull. Or you're in a malaise or a haze or whatever you want to call it. Sometimes it's fine to just like spur on the next plot point so you can get back to writing something you want to write. Or again, time limits and otherwise it wouldn't make sense if they weren't engaged with the main task at hand. Task. No, that's just the word. Anyway, uh, but obviously, not everything's all work and no play. Strike a balance if you'd kindly. Remember? It's all about making your characters believable while still telling a genuinely intriguing story. She takes another sip of water. Do you think you could still love if you were a worm? I don't think I could. I think I'd be a worm. Let's let's quickly talk about the first little docket here, relationships. Um, and I don't just mean, hey, who are they fucking? Um, I mean this as in, who do they have close ties with? Who is their family? Who are they fucking? Uh, who are they just peers with? Who do they despise? Who are they jealous of? Who are they suspicious of? Right? Who are they workmates with? Who are they fucking? Genuinely, who are they fucking? Sometimes that matters in a story. But no, like who do they fucking hate? Who are they fighting right now? Is it the main villain? What is the relationship with the main villain look like? Is this an enemies to lovers fanfic or is this an enemies to lovers novel? Do they fuck at the end of the story? Book talk girlies, does this have any spice? I'm gonna kill myself for saying that. But no, an important part of your main character is like who they interact with and how does it differ from person to person? Are they aloof and cold with everyone, keeping them at an arm's distance for reasons you will explain later on in the story? Are they too trusting and that becomes an issue? Uh, do they have a trustworthy ally they know they can rely on that they will call upon in dire need? Or are they an abrasive asshole who makes everybody flee from them, which leaves them in many rough spots as they have few people they can rely on and call upon to aid them? Making note of your character's relations, making that big ass web a lot of fandoms have, could be helpful in your little character bible or character dossier or whatever you have for your main character if you make those. It's not a bad idea to get into your mind what the relationships are, what they look like, how they manifest themselves in stories, because it is an important part of a character. How do they influence the people around them? Not just how do they get influenced. Remember, it's an important part, right? How does the actions of their closest ally affect them? When will they get called on by said ally? And how will that spur the story forward? Speaking of spurring the story forward, what is their motivation for doing this bullshit? Right? What is, like, genuinely, what is their motivation for doing this bullshit? Do they have one genuinely? Did they indeed discover that cult and realize that its roots run deeper than they had thought, and they know that if they do not act, nobody will? Have they suddenly discovered a new source of potential energy? This would be great for a diesel punk story that they need to release as soon as they can understand the ins and outs of it before they're killed by monopolies who want their head for knowing this. Do they just want to study magic? If this is a Magic Academy story, do they just want to study magic? That's motivation. That's a motivation. Do they just really, 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 genuinely, wholeheartedly, with every fiber of their being, fucking hate the main villain? That's a motivation. Are they avenging someone? Are they, are they going to murder someone? Do they want to pull off one last job before they really retire for real this time? Because it is important to flesh those out early to have everybody understand what your main character is like, what drives them, so that way they can hopefully get involved better in the story. And more importantly, if you do not know what your main character's motivation is, please kindly give them one, because again, your main characters should. No, your main characters need to be interesting, quite frankly. There's no getting around that. Boring characters fucking suck. Let me pick another fucking topic here. Growth. Will your main character grow at the end of the story? And then lack thereof, because sometimes they don't need to. Sometimes your main character literally just does not need to grow throughout this fucking story. Just marking them off. But sometimes it is an important part of the story, like typical story arcs. What is the fucking joke? Is like every G-rated movie's middle of the film misunderstanding plot point that leads to the gang breaking up and then needing to get back together. You know what I'm on about? That was like a specific thing I mentioned, but I'm sure you understand what I'm on about, yeah. What was I saying? Fuck, what was I saying? Right, those. Admin mouse over it. Oh, that's a clever thing I can do. I can highlight them as I talk about them so I don't forget. Aren't I so smart? We're learning tech today, boys. Do I have more string cheese in my fridge? We'll talk about that when we get to quirks. Negative. Uh, sometimes sometimes your character growing is an important part. Like I mentioned, the coward, they can learn to hold their ground more often. Like I mentioned, that autistic guy who literally cannot speak without fucking up every social encounter. Maybe just, I don't know, texting people instead if that's easier. It's socially fine to do that. You don't need to speak all the time. If you just want to text people, it's not, even if you're next to them, that's fine. No one gives a damn. Uh, or like, what did I say? What was the points I brought up earlier? Oh, hell, I don't remember. But, enemies to lovers. The fanfic trope is literally just how your main characters grow throughout the entirety of it. The story is the growth into fucking each other. It starts off as hate sex, then it becomes actual, like, passionate sex. And that's what we love to see in enemies to lovers. That's what I love to see in enemies to lovers. Not for the smut specifically, just because, like, oh, look at that genuine emotion and feeling for one another. How sweet. And also because it's toxic as fuck, and I deserve nothing less. I am an awful person. Anyway, Quirks negative. Yay! Well, I guess it's Quirks in general, and no My Hero fans who are the worst anime fans. I say not being a fan of anime in the first place, or at least not since Yu Yu Hakusho. That was the shit, dude. When I say Quirks, I mean like what? Why are they fucking weird? Why are they freaks? Darkest Dungeon shit. The Darkest Dungeon Quirks. I'm playing a lot of Darkest Dungeon 2 recently. Been loving it. Fucking corrupted file, man. Pissed me off. Video file, that is. My save file is perfectly fine. So, Quirks negative. This will be the second time I bring up my eating disorder issues, my stomach acid stuff. So, I'm feeling sad. Oh, I should have a friend that watches this. Nah, whatever, she'll give me an angry text later. So, when I'm feeling sad and upset at myself and frustrated and believe that I've ruined everything yet again, um, I don't eat. I weigh less than 100 pounds. I have really strong acid reflux to the point where it's damaging my throat. I cannot finish normal sized meals. I had a panic attack once because I had a sandwich, and that's not irony. It is, it's a really weird memory. If I am feeling overwhelmed, I just don't eat. Or if I do eat, it's very little and not the most nutritious. Today is the first day in 2 days that I ate something that wasn't just macaroni and cheese or tangerines. Yeah, tangerines. Um, I'd say that's a negative quirk. My record is I have gone 4 days without eating anything. I subsisted off of 6 sodas. Those are my calories. So if you're writing for a character with an eating disorder, they can go days without eating if they have like juice or sodas. I would know. It just if anyone's writing that, go ahead. Fucking I don't know. I don't give a shit. Ask me questions. I'll answer. But what makes your characters tick and why? Um, Let me just use some Darkest Dungeon examples. Tippler can't get enough of this stuff, as in alcohol. Resolute has sworn off the bottle. Which one of these is positive and which one of them is negative? Trick question, they're both negative, because in Darkest Dungeon you want them to be drunk. That way they just heal and like each other more. Uh, Obviously swearing off the bottle is objectively good, but in this specific situation, it's bad. Now that's a bad example, but I thought it would be funny to mention. What's a positive quirk? Evasive, right? They're more dodgy. However, this does mean that they are more likely to evade social situations. That's like the fluff reason why they have less chance for positive relationships with one another. Dark Ascension 2 is all about like fostering those relationships. It's really interesting. Go look into it. It's a great game. Um, let's actually dial it back to like stories and stuff. Quirks positive, like a positive outlook on life, and then a pessimistic outlook on life. This one, it's more obvious which one's the positive, which one's the negative. How does that affect them in the story, right? How are they more or less likely to give up or not as a result? If they're good at math, I consider that a negative quirk. That makes you like some sort of witch creature. By the way, um, it shouldn't be coven, it should be coven, the word for like three witches, because the word cove, C-O-V-E, is cove. The word coven, C-O-V-E-N, is just cove with an N at the end of it. Because that's how vowels work. You say the letter the first time, and then say the sound the second time. Coven should be coven. As such, I will be calling it that. Anyway, uh, like what makes your main characters tick is an important part of them. What drives them up the fucking wall? What do they just have an affinity for, naturally speaking? Right? Like a positive quirk could be like a weapons freak, right? If they are obsessed with the mechanics of a weapon, like in steampunk, then them being more, you can bring that up in stories of them being more interested in keeping their gear up to date, improving themselves, as well as being able to understand, say, the guards chasing them weaponry, and potentially being able to abuse some sort of like facet of it, either slow fire rate, or prone to overheating, or just low magazine capacity, if it's like the Van Helsing crossbow, which I always thought was stupid, but still. There are magazine fit crossbows, just not like that. Right? But a character who's obsessed with weapons or knows a lot of the minutiae of weaponry would be able to understand these things, potentially take advantage of them for an interesting set piece in a story. A character who is hard of hearing, which I guess is now a negative quirk, would have a much harder time understanding when they're being stealthy. considerably, or much harder time detecting someone who is stealthy and can make use of a lot of interesting scenes and stories. Or if they just, I'm trying to think of like negative quirks, but I literally can only think right now about like, oh wow, you had a meal today, and my brain in the background is like working really hard, gaslighting me of like, oh that's a bad thing, stop doing that, fuck you, I'm having a fucking good streak, all right, get out of here. Punch my forehead, you couldn't see. Anyway, ooh my back, damn, those are some good cracks, nice. Uh, but keep in mind like whatever weird facets they have with themselves just innately as part of them. Or you could just not have any and just stick with like hobbies and shit like that. No one's gonna fault you for this. But stuff like that. Understand how that makes them as a person, positively and negatively. Hell, even a positive quirk could have negative effects. Like if they're a weapons freak, like I mentioned, they could just be annoying as fuck to have a conversation with. Literally, like plain and simply, they can just be annoying. And that could be an interesting part in your story. The negative quirk that probably jumped to mind, a vice, which is a separate point on the docket. What vices do they have and why? What is it that I'm thinking of? In like the Warhammer Fantasy books of the Inquisitor, he's got his like executioner, whatever his name is. He's like he literally, what's his whole deal? Is that he's just whoring around, drinking, gambling, and getting involved with the criminals whenever he enters a town. In Caiaphas Cain, Jurgen canonically smells and is also canonically a gooner. On like not even a joke, right? That's vices. How like smoking, drinking. We all know what a vice is. Or just a delectable slice of chocolate cake. Don't mind if I do. Wiggles fingers. Or like what is bad for them, but they keep doing anyway. Sleeping in, probably a vice. Starving yourself. I don't think that's a vice exactly, but it's not good. A a a piece of equipment in a mechanic's shop, a vice. How important are these things to them? Are they gonna get whiskey withdrawals? Are they gonna get tobacco withdrawals? Does them looking for their next hit of whatever fantasy drug you made lead them to the next plot point of the story? Does that make them allies? Obviously, it would make them enemies with some crew, set of people, whatever you want to call it. Uh, fucking throat. Saints alive. Uh, I'm gonna probably double back on some of these points as I keep thinking about things to add. But with fight, or you don't even need to like have it be an important thing in the story, like I mentioned with like withdrawals and stuff like that. If you want your character to smoke because it's cool, you just have your character smoke because it's cool, man. Ugh, I'm fine. The mac and cheese was bitchin' though, by the way. My aunt made it with there's like several different kinds of cheeses in it, and it's baked. It's great shit, dude. Rest assured, I might not have been eating healthy, but I was eating happily. There was also a lot of mac and cheese. I still have so much mac and cheese in my fridge. What can I say? They call me mac and cheese stir back in high school. And if anybody says that is a lie, kill them. Um, what is like? So when does being a freak a negative thing in your story? The things I mentioned probably weren't very extreme. Let me bring up my favorite example as a Roman Catholic: religious fervor. And I don't mean like proselytizing. I don't mean like talking on college campuses. I mean darkest dungeon flagellant type of religious fervor. Genuinely believing themselves to be some sort of prophet or some sort of actual divine instrument of the Lord and enacting whatever inane and psychopathic plans they have as a result of it. In Darkest Dungeon 2, canonically, Flagellant just fucking loved being in pain so much, seeing it. Okay, well, this is his own excuse. I fully believe he's just, at this point, just likes being hurt. Flagellant believes so fucking hard that it is his genuinely God appointed divine right to experience as much pain as is physically possible that he just started rotting from the inside out and canonically kicked Death's ass, and she won't stop hunting him over it. Like, that is next level. God said this, and so it is. That it's fucking ridiculous, and I love it. The unshakable zealotry is one of my favorite archetypes, both for the positive and negative aspects, though I think I really like leaning into the negative aspect more of to be this deluded is a drawback. Treat it as such. It is, to me, incredibly interesting when this motherfucker is genuinely psychotic. Wholeheartedly fucking insane. And I will never be able to stress that as much as I feel it. What's great about it? Instant, believable conflict and tension. Why are they getting into a fight? Because they said shit they just frankly should not have. Why do they have enemies? Fucking look at them. Why do they have allies? Either fear or because they're believers. Sure as hell not in the same caliber, but they're still believers, and hell, we're brothers in God. Yeah, how it goes sometimes. Hmm. Where's more water? Nah, I can wait. Ugh, there we are. But like, shit, like, I cannot. I don't think I'll ever be able to explain this like genuine fucking psychopathy in the name of the Lord is my favorite character archetype. Like branding sigils on your body type of shit. That's why I love Trench Crusade. I will kill demons in the name of God. I struck a pose. Rest assured, it was badass. Like, that is the shit. What are their motivations? Divine providence, I suppose? What are their strengths? Unshakable faith and crackhead energy. But like, laced crack. That type of shit. Are they intriguing? You best believe your ass they're intriguing to read about. Are they an archetype? Sure, that's not like inherently a positive or negative. Will they grow? Dude, no. But that's the fun of it. Their hobbies? Killing people and praying about it. And praying to kill more people. When should they be focused on the main task? They are never not. Quirks? Positive? Absolutely. Quirks? Negative? Anything they are. Vices? God. Relevance? Pretty relevant, depending on story. Right? Like that. It's not just me, right? That, like, the whole. So, think of a Crusader Knight, right? Your typical Deus Vult Crusader Knight that you think of in pop culture. Like, have a bigger Crusader Knight eat that guy, distill him, and inject him into the biggest Crusader you can find, and do that enough times that that biggest Crusader's bloodstream is just the distilled fervor of a Crusader that ate another guy. And that's the kind of shit I'm talking about. Like, you know, because again, flagellation, instated by Brother Peter Damien of the Catholic Church. Like, every single missed swing, or every single more grievous injury they take, just another sign they should keep going because they're still alive. Every day they draw breath is proof of what they're doing is right, and you cannot shake their mind. Hell, that could be a villain, and I'd still love it. It usually is. and I fucking love it. But sometimes it's a main character, and oh man, there is nothing better than that sort of character, and I can't wait to play my own. I made a character like that for a D&D campaign that's coming up. I literally have been chomping at the bit thinking about this every week, like just waiting for the fucking day I get to play this. There's nothing better, you feel? I'm sure you have some sort of. Ugh, I'm sure you have some sort of like archetype that's practically the same thing in your opinion, but that's mine. Taste batteries? No, that's a memory. Okay. Were you a kid that licked batteries and put marbles in your mouth? Were you a choking hazard child? I was. Ugh. Sorry, it's kind of late. Please put me down. I am very tired. In my language, we call him Demon. Please put me down. I am very tired. There's a lady in my head who calls me Stud Muffin. Please leave me alone. I was thinking of what the response was. Uh, how much should you stick to anything I said? Probably very little, in honesty, except for that religious fervor thing. Please make more stories like that. Holy shit, I love them. Um, but I hope I came across the point that making main characters is actually really fucking hard and is like a batch of different things that you string together to make a believable shell of a person that you puppet along in a believable way to make the story play out in an interesting manner. It is not bad to have a main character that is special. Hell, sometimes that's the goal. Um, I think I'll revisit like fantasy tropes next time or something like that. In the meantime, just make interesting characters. Let me know if you have any suggestions. If you want tips on how to make a main character that like has an eating disorder, like ask me or something. Not that my experience is ubiquitous, but like I don't think having a panic attack over a sandwich is normal. Alright, see ya.